Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic. What's the single most important item in your home that has a value of $1 or less? A brown plastic realistic cockroach nicknamed Freddy. We got it over 20 years ago, I don't remember where or why. Maybe a Halloween party. Anyway. My wife and I have been hiding it for each other ever since. It could take months for Freddy to pop up, but he always does. She will find it buried in the sugar pot. I will later find it inside a pair of shoes I rarely wear. It often makes us jump, and give a small fright. I'll hear my wife let a surprised gasp, then go, "Oh Freddy." For me, Freddy is a great symbol that our relationship is still solid after all these years, that we still take the time to have fun, to surprise each other. This is my favorite on the thread. Where else have you guys hidden him? Do tell, I'm Freddy to hear more. Pockets of shirt of jackets. Any kind of dry food container. Under a carpet. Between slice of bread in a bag. In a sock. Inside a mug. I once hid it in her purse and she found it in front of a very puzzled clerk while trying to pay for something in a shop. A tiny paper crane a Japanese grandmother gave me when I was in Osaka at a museum. She worked there and was waiting for tourists to come play an educational board game with her. She got no interest, obviously. I reluctantly sat down and played after she caught me on my own with a smile and a beckoning wave. Even though we couldn't speak each other's language and I kept messing up, she was so kind to me. So happy that I sat with her. She made me deal with my impatience and sit with the distress I was feeling that day by slowing me down and making me do something plain and simple. When we were done, she gave me a tiny paper crane from the pile she had made to give to all the tourists that should have sat with her and didn't. It made me really sad. And really happy I'd met her. And I hope she's doing well. This is why I'd also sit with the old people that ran the themed stations at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. I was there once a week for a while and sometimes I'd hit every single station so the 80-plus-year-old person there would have someone to talk to. I'm already looking forward to being an old decent at a museum and talking to people like you. I'm in my mid-40s and have always loved talking to older people. I had a friend that was in World War II, US Army, and he had the best stories and a ton of Nazi stuff that he took from soldiers he killed. Dude was a straight-up badass airborne ranger that was part of the Ulcer's death camp liberation. Met the guy while working in the mall, just a lonely man walking around talking to young people. What a lovely story. I'm glad you sat with her that day and that her memory lives on in that little paper crane. So this is a fascinating example, in practice, of the Japanese concept of negative space, the gap, the pause. It's where you just stop. Doing lots of busy things in your day, getting from A to B non-stop. Take just 5 minutes. Buy an ice cream. Sit in the sun. Enjoy it. Life got you stressed. Stop and pet your cat. They need more love, and don't understand why you pet your phone more than them. Take the time. Sit with the little old lady. There's little moments in life that will add contrast to the noise, and without them, it just becomes static, a blur with no distinction. You'll miss out on both if you neglect one. One time, about 5 years into our relationship, my girlfriend, now wife, and I were in separate rooms in our one-bedroom apartment in early December. From the other room, she hollered to me, "What do you want for Christmas?" I had been working full-time, taking part-time university classes to finish my degree, and had been volunteering as part of a youth mentor program, so I said all I really want is a break. 3 weeks later, I'm unwrapping a very heavy show box. After getting through the mountain of duct tape and several layers of wrapping paper, I had my very own brick. "I really didn't understand what you wanted it for," she said, "but you sounded so sure of it. So here you go." Cue about 10 minutes of laughs, and now that brick sits proudly on my desk. Every time I am overwhelmed or feeling like I've taken on too much, I look at it, pick it up, have a little laugh, and put it back so I can carry on. Best gift ever. That's an incredibly sweet story. Thanks for sharing. I've been working from home, and as my employer, like many others, are soul-sucking demos not fit for this earth. They track you in just about every way possible because it's simply inconceivable to think people would just do the work they're paid to do, regardless of the setting they're in. If I interact with the computer for more than 5 minutes, it registers me as away. Heavens forbid I have to poop or something. I got spoken to the very first week of WFH and told you have to be available during work hours by a supervisor who is seemingly never available but was blind to the irony, I guess. In any event, I found that if you navigate to a certain portion of our 1970s software you can endlessly type. I promptly went outside and found a rock which now holds down my space bar for me anytime I need to walk away for a minute. That rock is, in my eyes, now one of the most important objects in my world, and it was free. Modern problems require Stone Age solutions. I never take rocks for granted. I have an optical mouse. I place it on top of an small old analog desk clock I've had since forever. The second hand moves across the sensor and the pointer moves just the slightest bit. A watch can work, too. Your except 100% activity for extended periods of time would be super fishy. My work uses hub staff which tracks your keyboard and mouse activity, and I've heard of people using tricks to mess with the software, only to be called out for 100% activity. So be careful. One specific screw, it has emotional significance. During our first official date with my GF, I got a flat tire because of that random screw. I had never changed a tire before in my life and I was afraid I'd make a fool of myself in front of her, but it all worked out well and she was super impressed. Next day, when I took my car to the shop to patch the hole, I asked them to return me the screw just for the happy memory. That's really touching. I imagine a screw would be pretty easy to lose. Have you considered using it to hang a small picture of the two of you so that you'd always know where it was? That's a great idea, cheers. I have a heart-shaped rock that is about the size of a quarter. My son gave it to me when he was 3 and told me to keep it forever. I have it in my back pocket daily. I have it in my back pocket daily. Don't sit on many hard surfaces, I take it. It's pretty flat. The rock, that is. Not very noticeable even when I do. The Duovo. It's a $1 bill with a picture of ex-UF basketball coach Billy Duovo taped over the president. It was a single dollar a friend and I would pass back and forth that we would bet on different things. It's a trophy we have passed back and forth over the last 20 years. It's an item that has kept us in touch. The fact that you have misspelled Donovan twice makes me think you really believe he's called Duovo, and I just had to point that out for my own peace of mind. P.S. Love the story behind it, by the way. At least it was a consistent error. I have to take pills for tension headaches or I can barely function, I get really dizzy. One pill costs $1. So when a tension headache flares up and I'm dizzy and sick feeling, there is no better dollar spent than on that pill. I get tension headaches too. They suck. Is the pill you take RX or OTC? I'ma spell this wrong but it's something like sumatriptan. It's a red envelope that used to contain $20. I kept the envelope because I got it from my boyfriend's grandmother. She's from China and these red envelopes are given to children/family during holidays and important events. When my boyfriend's parents and grandparents moved out of his childhood home, she gave out 3 envelopes, one for my boyfriend, one for my boyfriend's sister and one for me. This symbolized her accepting me as part of the family. I cried a bit after she gave it to me and I got a hug from her. I don't have grandparents and have a really rough relationship with my mom, so this meant a lot. I feel like a part of his family and I'm so happy for that. Edit, thank you all so much for the awards. I'm excited to show my boyfriend this later. I keep my red envelopes even after I use the money, too. They are good luck tokens and it feels wrong to chuck them, even though I know it's silly. That's a very touching story. I'm happy you found your family through your boyfriend. I am from Hong Kong and 6 years ago I visited my aunt and uncle in Canada and spent the Lunar New Year holiday with them. On the first day they gave me red envelopes as lucky money. As tradition goes, I was not supposed to open it until day 7/day 15 of the LNY or I would lose my luck. Later that day we got on a road trip and passed the US border. Since it was my first time visiting the US in a while, I was questioned by a custom officer. She wasn't impolite, but she was quite suspicious with the red envelopes. I explained to her our tradition and that I didn't know the exact amount of money in them, but it wouldn't be much because it was just one bill inside each envelope in HK currency. In the end she decided to open the envelopes for me. She completely torn the envelopes apart and handed me the wrecked envelopes after checking. I lost my job that year. I am still a bit bitter about it to this day, lol. Yeah, US immigration officers can be quite the dickheads. When I was on a TN visa in the US, I had to bring my university diploma as proof that I have a degree. So I brought it to the border in its nice frame. The guy pulled it out of the frame and damaged it. He handed it back and said yeah, it got ripped when I took it out to photocopy it. Ass. Then once I went to the border and after handing over my paperwork, I sat in the waiting room for 2 hours. Then there was a shift change and the newly arrived guy goes, oh geez, you've been here for 2 hours. Let's get you out of here quick. And he spends the 2 minutes looking over my paperwork and stamps it. So, he was great, but it also means that the fucking assholes who took the paperwork in the first place could have had me out of there 2 hours before, but they decided to just not do it. And no, there was no massive lineup either. They just didn't do anything.